Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/WiseGuyRadio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, AUDIBLETRIAL.com/WiseGuyRadio. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 33. I am Jay Michael, your host, and I am excited to have you all with us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am driving home right now on my way home from Epcot at Disney World and here in Orlando, Florida. And I wanted to take advantage of this time and record my intro for this episode. This past 2 weeks has been completely chaotic and crazy busy, and I apologize for not getting last week's show out when I should have. I definitely missed out and apologize. So because of that, what I am doing is I have completely sat down and restructured the format for this show and my episodes for 3 days a week, because I do want to have a 3-day-a-week show. But what I want to be able to do is have it structured so that not only is it entertaining and educational, but also for myself personally, because I'm doing everything from the interviews to the research to the post-production and editing, that I need to be able to do all of the 1 week at a time, basically on Sundays. And Sunday's my podcast day. Kind of learning the whole organizational thing with my business as well is teaching me how to be organized with my podcast. And so I have decided that the way the show is going to work is Mondays will be interview with artists. It'll be basically the artist of the week. The Wednesday show will be tips, tricks, hacks, and also the audiobook of the month. And then Friday shows will be guests outside of the realm of glass blowing, whether it's lawyer talk, doctor talk, what have you, accountant and stuff. And also will be my segment that I will be starting this Friday with Shane from @GlassKnowledge on Instagram. Him and I will be doing a weekly segment on his post that they are doing on their Instagram page. And we're going to be taking one topic a week and discussing it thoroughly, kind of expanding upon what they already went over on the post there. So we're pretty excited about that, to be doing that. And that's going to start this Friday. So my first episode coming up, which is this one for my new format layout, is actually going to be a best of repost of my first episode with Rashan JOnes. And the reason I'm doing this one in particular is, for one, there were a couple segments or parts of the episode that I took out. It's actually starting to rain. You guys can probably hear the pitter-patter on my windshield. But so there were a couple of things I took out, and this episode replay of his show is completely unedited, so there's lots of fun chit-chat and chatter and probably a couple pauses and mess-ups in there, but the goal is to take the shows, the first several episodes that we had, where I took an interview and broke it up into segments and make them all back into one episode or one full show interview-wise, because then when we have them on the website, we're going to be putting exclusively on the site the full episodes, and I wanted to give you guys a little heads up and a teaser, in a sense, with Rashan's episode. Besides the fact that Rashan's an incredible guy, very humble and a great artist and family guy as well, and makes me smile and laugh. And whenever I listen to this episode, it makes me a little giddy. So I wanted to get this out for you. For those of you who are new to the show and haven't gone back all the way to the first several episodes of his shows, and also the third part of his show was really what touched home with me in particular, with his talks about his personal story. So, without giving anything away, those have not heard the episode yet. And one more quick thing I wanted to announce for you guys is that this month's Smoke Shop of the Month is Tobacco Leaf Gallery in Tallahassee, Florida. And Tobacco Leaf Gallery is also, just by chance, celebrating their 6th anniversary this month. And they are going to be having an open house party demo going on the September 25th. And I'll be one of the many artists that will be there demonstrating and collabing and having a blast. So anybody in Florida that is in Central Florida or even South Florida, I mean, South Florida, it's a hike to Tallahassee, as you might well know. But I live in Central Florida, and it's still about a 4.5-hour drive. But it's well worth it. Tobacco Leaf Gallery is one of the stores in Florida that you have got to go check out. They have not only a giant variety of affordable price glass, but they also have an extraordinary amount of amazing gallery quality art from artists in our industry that are kicking ass and making names for themselves in the world of glass. It's all high-end stuff. It's just the way the store is set up, it's beautiful. So I will be bringing Gabe on this week to talk about their store and his life in the world of glass and how he got started in the industry and their shop's history and everything else. And we will be giving you guys a chance to interact with us here pretty soon. We're involved in the middle of putting in a plugin in the website to do surveys where we will give you an opportunity to vote for your favorite smoke shop. We're going to be kind of coming up with a couple different areas and ways of doing it. But the goal is eventually we are going to be doing Smoke Shop of the Week. But for right now, as things get rolling with the show and we get things organized, we're going to be doing Smoke Shop of the Month. So congratulations to Tobacco Leaf Gallery in Tallahassee, Florida. You guys are September's Smoke Shop of the Month. Don't forget to go to wiseguyradio.com and subscribe to our newsletter. Coming out this week, I am going to be including in our newsletter a little pamphlet that you guys can cut out, those of you that are glass artists listening to this, that you can cut out and include in your orders when you send out your pipes to your customers. It's not a guarantee, get out of jail free card, but it's just one of those little things that you should include in your packages, just as like a liability notification for whoever it is that's receiving your package, and also just in case it just by chance is opened up while it's being shipped, between the post office or UPS or whatever. I'm not sure those of you who are aware, the fact that the post office is a federal agency type government, run business, they have to get a federal warrant to open up our packages, which isn't really that hard for them to get. But Federal Express, UPS, DHL, your major shipping companies, because they are private companies, they have 100% full access to our packages. Under their discretion, they can open up whenever they want. Just so you guys are aware of that. When you sign the little form, when you mail your shit out with those companies in particular, on that fine print, it does say that they have all rights to your package. So just so you guys know. So that's why also one reason I ship exclusively with the post office. But I am going to be including this little waiver in my package from now on. And again, it is not any kind of legal advice, any of that kind of shit. It's just kind of a little simple thing to get into your package, which also starts the process of all of us taking, even though we do take it seriously, but to take it on a different level of seriousness because of the way laws are changing and the way our industry is going to be moving towards the laws as they change. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. It is getting really bad weather-wise, and I do not want to die while I'm recording this. So I love you guys. Don't forget to check me out on Periscope at jmichaelglass. Oh, actually, no, it's on Periscope. It's at Wise Guy Radio Show. The link is on my Instagram page. My Instagram is at jmichaelglass. Go to wiseguyradio.com. Subscribe there. We're going to have all the links for all that stuff on there as well. I'm out of here, guys. Love ya. Enjoy the show with Rashan JOnes. He's a great guy. Again, this is the best of episode, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out. See ya. What's happening, everybody? J. Michael here with the Wise Guy Radio Show, Episode 1. I am really, really excited to have Rashan JOnes on today, who is our first guest. Rashan, he's a brother from another mother. I've been following him for a long time now through social media and Facebook, and have really enjoyed watching him grow, not only as an artist, but as a man. And it's been fun. We kind of both together have gone through some trials and tribulations, not together in terms of side-by-side, but individually in our own paths. And through watching and contacting and talking through Facebook, we both actually kind of crossed paths last year by getting married. And it's kind of been a new turn in both of our lives. So
I figured, because of his background and his personality, which is he's got a great big personality, and he's very talented as well. I thought we'd bring him on for the first guest, and he actually was the first person to get back to me. So that's a big win for you, my brother.
Winning.
Hell yeah. So.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, this is awesome, man.
Great.
So a quick little background on Rashan. Rashan Jones is a borosilicate lamp worker living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For the last decade, his company, Jones Art Glass, has been creating handcrafted, mouth-blown pieces of glass. A lifelong passion was found in the spring of 2001. After an apprenticeship opportunity left him hopelessly addicted to molten glass. Inspired by beautiful natural surroundings in Albuquerque, New Mexico, his work truly captures the fire and spirit of the southwestern high desert. Organic colors and shapes are hallmarks of his natural style. In 2013, he opened his first solo studio, High Desert Flameworks, where he continues his molten glass. And hey, dude, I got to just ask you, being in Albuquerque, have you seen Bugs Bunny?
No, man, that guy's always trying to take a left turn out of here, I think.
Well, what
That's
a
how that works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he needs a GPS or something.
Seriously.
So
update his operating systems, man.
Yeah, something. It's awesome. So yeah, brother. So give me a little background. When did you get started? Who'd you work with? Any names in the industry we may know of?
Yeah, man. Tell you what, it all started here in Albuquerque. Let me go back a little further. Back when I was a kid, my uncle used to coach football down in El Paso, Texas. So we'd always go down to visit him, and that took us down to Juarez, Mexico, quite often. And there was a really, really cool glass shop, man, where I would just stand for hours and watch them spin out these huge soft glass, like cobalt plates and, margarita glass and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure to glass. And then bumped into it again probably in like 99, 2000. I had a buddy named Brian Bentley who was a local pipe maker. And, I'd always hung out in the studio. And so it was something that just, it was just natural. I was just always there hanging out with him. And so one day I had a 2-week vacation from my travel agent job kind of coincide. And so I bought my first torch and took off from there.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. And what was that first torch you bought?
Oh, man, Nortel Miner.
Yeah, me too.
Nortel Miner. That's, 15 years later, it makes me laugh because, I still hear, like, to this day, like this week I've heard, I don't know if you can move borosilicate on a miner. And it's just not true, man. Miners are great torches.
Oh, dude, I made everything I made for the first year and a half of my glass art was all on a Nortel miner.
Exactly. Then, working with him was really great. It gave me a great opportunity. And, in 2000, about May, June 2000, I got my first miner. And my plan, seriously, was to be the world's greatest pipe maker, bong maker ever, man. Like, that was it. I was going to take over the world. I had a whole plan, man.
2 weeks into it, right?
Exactly. No, 2 weeks. No, 2 days, bro.
Oh,
hey, you know what? This
even
is what
better.
I'm doing. But, it was a blessing because here in Albuquerque, we have a long tradition of borosilicate glass, mostly spearheaded by Lewis Wilson. He used to sell my buddy Brian color, so I wasn't aware of who Lewis was. He was just like, the wacky, cool neighbor guy that would sell his color. And so I was going through the library one day and just looking for anything I could on glass blowing at that point, and I ran across a video of his, and I was like, man, I think this is that weird old dude that we buy our color from, huh? So I did my knowledge there and did my research, and thankfully, Lewis, he liked my spirit. He kind of took me under his wing, and what that enabled me to do was to, I'd spend a lot of time in a pipe prep studio doing a lot of pipe work and stuff. But also, Lewis kind of brought me into the bead game and got me traveling and heading down to Tucson just to kind of open up my eyes to things that were possible with glass. And that right there, those two experiences simultaneously is what really kind of solidified my need to work glass constantly.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Lewis Wilson did the basic introduction to glasswork videos?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Essential Lamp Working or something they were called?
It's Crystal Myth Essential Glasswork.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Crystal Myths. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
man.
But, from there, I started doing bead shows and stuff, and what that let me do, and this is, part of why social media just blows me away these days, is a lot of the relationships I literally formed because I would have to sacrifice time away from family and go to these places. And now, you don't really have to do that anymore, as it were. Technically, man, we haven't met in person, but I feel we have a good vibe so that when I meet you in person, it's going to be exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you, dude, for sure.
But a lot of that rapport comes from just traveling a lot and just getting out there. And, I was able to come in the 2000s and meet a lot of people who are really just doing amazing work now. And it was just a really, really great time in glass.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, man, just to see the evolution of, then to now, like you're saying, with social media. I mean, it's pretty cool. But it's also very distracting.
Very.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So I was reading, you started doing a demo one day for some kids, and that turned into a kids glass program, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, man. That's probably the thing I'm most talk about for the last couple of years, because it's a program that's near and dear to my heart. It's called The Wonders of Glass, and it basically started with, I was having some pizza with a friend of mine. She was a third grade teacher, and she introduced me to the art teacher, Annie Nash, who had already been doing some fusing and stuff with the kids, like just on the side, like on like weekend projects and like summer camp kind of things. She'd have some of the elementary school kids cutting glass and doing some fusing. So she asked me to come in and do a demo flame working with her kids. Well, first asked if it was even possible. And I was like, sure, if your school's fine with it, I'll bring it all down. So I did, and that was great. And, I did my first demo, and then about 3 weeks later, Annie called me and was like, hey, I'm going to write this grant to the Toyota Corporation to help, teach kids more about glass. Would you want to be our artist in residence? And at that time, 6 years ago, I didn't even understand what that entailed. But, I'm really, really fond of doing cool stuff, man. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's teach kids to blow glass, and this filled up some time in my day, and this will be good for my spirit. And, we got the grant, man. Toyota gave us $20,000 about 6 years ago to start the Wonders of Glass program. And since then, we've teamed with a lot of outside the glass industry partners, but also, titans like Glass Alchemy, North Star, ABR, Paragon, and Nortel have all made sure. Oh man, of course, Oralens, they're our new partner. Just made sure that we could not just teach the kids, but teach them correctly in an awesome manner, man. So it's been really good. It's been a great ride.
Man, that's so cool, dude. I know, like, my wife's an art teacher, elementary, so she's got the K through 5. And so the past 3 years, I guess I've been doing the Great American Teach-In, and the first time I did it was, doing a full-on demo for every grade, and it was every grade, one demo at a time, K through 5. But it's so awesome, and part of why I enjoy the Disney gig too is just I love seeing kids just their eyes open wide when they see just the process being done. Not even really blown glass or just seeing like the flame. Like when the kids would walk up to to see what I'm doing, I would turn my propane up really big so they got this. They call it we call it like the dragon flame or whatever. They're all like, oh my god, it's fire, it's so cool. Just to tease them a little bit,
Exactly.
It's awesome.
And I do the same kinds of things, man. Like as the kids are walking in, I'm on a Mirage flip pedal now. So I'll be working a little bit on my minor and just doing some work, but I'll make sure that as they walk in, I'll hit that flip pedal with that big roar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to see the kids' eyes light up and just for them to start to be mesmerized by glass the way I was, that's something that like I enjoy helping them capture. It's been great.
Yeah, I think it's like, with fire, I think it's like genetically ingrained in us just as humans, from back in the days of being Neanderthals. So this whole we've always had this wonder and fascination with it, and you want to stick your hand in it and see if it's going to burn you, kind of thing. And as we all know, it does. It does. That's awesome. So what kind of stuff do you guys do with the kids?
All right. So it's broken down into two things. So in the very beginning, Glass Alchemy was super awesome. They made sure that all the kids got one of the original Goblin posters. Man, if those kids still have those are collector's items.
Man, that's awesome.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But so basically, let's say it's a class of 20 kids, so they'll break up into 5 groups of 4 kids. And the day before, Dr. Nash will come by my studio, and she'll drop off the dossier, man. And what that is the kids know I'm coming. Myself and Andrew Brown from Carver Beach Studios put together a bead-making video for them about 7 years ago. And so they've already seen the video series. They understand how the glass is going to move. And now, like this individual school, glass is part of their culture. So the kids have a great understanding of it. And so what they'll do is they'll draw something, man, just whatever's on their mind, whatever they as a group agree to draw. But when I get there, it's not just like a SpongeBob SquarePants. It's like SpongeBob SquarePants, but labeled appropriately with, this is Rasta Gold, Rashan, and use Snow White for the eyes, Rashan.
Oh, dude, that's so awesome.
You have chocolate crayon for the pants, Rashan, and for me and my team, like I've been down there with, man, amazing, just a stunning group of artisans. Andrew Brown, Jennifer Wilson, Denial Gearhart, just really, really great local guys who have stepped up and said, hey, you know what, I want to help you. So we'll all go down there. Niles Mallman is my new partner, And we go down there, we'll bring 2 torches, and we get together and decide, like, okay, we have an hour with this class. What can we realistically get done? And for me, in the first couple of years, man, of the 6 years, it was such a challenge because I don't do any sculpting. I don't know if you know that. I don't do any sculpting at all unless I'm in that program. And so as a glass blower coming in, the kids are like, well, I want a cupcake. Okay, well, I can kind of fashion that. I'll take some 32 and blow it out and, add a topper and things like that. But, that was 6 years ago. Now I'm a lot more comfortable and the kids are a lot more demanding, man. It used to be, hey, let's make something cool and the glass blower will make it. And now it's let's stump the glass blower. So it went from like a simple Harry Potter wand or like a Juicy Juice suck box or, like I said, a cupcake in the early years to where we were down there probably about 8 weeks ago, and we did a monkey holding a banana and a lightsaber riding on a rocket ship.
Oh my gosh!
And we only have an hour, so we're not talking like super like critical detail, but like all the design elements are there. And it's funny, we talked about social media a little bit earlier and like how it can influence the glass game.
Yep.
Like for me, the person making really, really awesome sabers is there's a lot of really awesome people making really cool lightsabers. So what I'm able to do is go out to that person on Facebook after the fact and tag them and say, hey, man, we made this inspired by something I saw you do, and these kids loved it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it Sarah Shade, I think? Wasn't she doing the...
Sarah Shade, exactly.
Doing them for a while? Because I know there's another guy out there that he goes by Saber Glass, I believe. He's on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing on like full-on... like replica-sized lightsabers that are functional pipes.
Oh, wow.
And they've got built-in lights in them, dude. So, like, you hit a little button and the whole thing freaking lights up. I mean, it's yeah, they're badass, bro.
Yeah.
Check them out.
No, mine aren't that big.
But, yeah, I think his name, it goes by at Sable Glass, I think. I'm not really sure.
Oh, man. But I hope the kids don't hear about that, man, because they're definitely going to try and make me do that.
Yeah, so, man. I'll have the link. I'll have his link in the show notes page so so you can check that out.
Awesome.
Anybody else listening can check it out, too. Yeah, man, that's super cool. I love the whole imagination of kids and putting things together because like for myself and other artists that I've been around, it's always getting inspired isn't always easy. And when you have kids that are like, put this, and this together, let's see if you can do it, man. It reminds me of like an art class I took where we had to go into a science lab and draw. We had to pick 4 objects, draw them on paper, and then make a collage. So like. I found a heart and a cockroach, and there was something else I did. I think it was like a dolphin picture or something. And so I basically like drew this picture of like this cockroach riding this dolphin with a cowboy hat on, shooting a gun, kind of thing. It was like,
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's good. So it's cool, but the imagination of the child, like my son, he's gonna be 8 this year, and he's always like, I'm not sure what to draw, Dad. I'm like, just think of something crazy. And you can do it.
The craziest thing you can put together, man. And go with that.
And then
especially as a young person, man.
Yeah, I love it. Because I know, like, my imagination, dude, like, you don't even want to know what I think about sometimes.
Exactly. Awesome.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, dude, what do you see with the future of this class? Like, I see, like, you're trying to kind of instill this into other programs, other schools, like, nationally-wise. I think it...
Oh yeah, no, we've actually been able to do it, man. It's not to be a cliche, man, but it really is. It's a lightning in the bottle kind of situation where right now the glass industry is really, really celebrating it and wants kids involved in it. The larger suppliers realize that they should have a younger market base that can kind of grow into their products. So like now it went from just doing those demos to now we're doing hands-on stuff in the class So the kids will come in like in the evenings or on a weekend, and it's a mommy and me or daddy and me kind of situation. Like you cannot just drop your 7-year-old off with me; you have to stay. So,
yeah.
And they'll stay for like a 4 or 5 hour basic intro class, and we'll do a lunch, and it's basically we'll do a basic bead, a basic pendant, and an icicle. And what that lets the kids do is then the next time I'm in class at the school demoing for their class, the kids who have taken the class outside of school, those are the ones that will have come down and like, hey, do you want to help me pull these stringers? Or, and what 4th grader doesn't want to pull cobalt blue stringers in front of his classmates?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
It works out well, man. So it's grown from being a demo program to a true hands-on thing. And then back in July, I was at in Houston at the International Society of Glass Bead Makers, and I had a chance to kind of present it to a larger body of just bead makers from around the world. And what that's opened me up to is that there's a lot of people in that same vein all across the country. Drew Cups up in Michigan with the Michigan Project, they have a really, really heavy lean towards helping kids work in glass. There's lots of soft glass and offhand studios who are really heavy into it. As far as like the Toledo Museum of Glass, the program I'm doing is based on theirs actually, because any kid can just draw something and submit it as a class. And then if they decide to make it, they'll contact the teacher and say, hey, we're about to make this kid's thing. Do you want to live stream or do you want to copy this video so you can check it out? So we kind of built it based on that. And it's awesome, man. It's great.
That is too cool. Yeah, man, because, I think that if it does take off like wildfire and does spread through like the school systems, like it may actually help really gel the whole, like we were saying before about like, getting lingo down and having it be consistent across the community, because it has to be taught at a younger age. And, when you teach a curriculum, even though like, you look at the way our country is in language, it's like soda and pop or, whatever, everybody's got different words for different things. But it seems like the glass language needs to become an actual language that we all use the same terminology, whether we're talking to some, Lucio Babacco or, Dale Chihuly or Marcel Braun, it's like we all can get together and have, or Rashan Jones, and, but you know what I'm saying, dude. So it's like,
absolutely.
There's got to be some kind of like consistency across the boards, because, it's just,
And as far as it spreading further, man, like mostly like I don't really have any illusions about the fact that it's small children and like really, really hot heat. So it's definitely not for everyone. Mm-hmm. And so like, I've had that question before, like, how do I feel that it hasn't grown bigger in 6 years? I'm like, look, 6 years, we've got 4 schools. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if this somehow becomes a larger like school board issue, and like we're building, like we have the curriculum built. So if we start implementing that on a larger scale, then of course that'd be awesome. But I also recognize that like it's it's like anything else. Flame working isn't for everyone. Same way drawing isn't for everyone, or the saxophone isn't for everyone, or asparagus isn't for everyone. So just all I'm trying to do is just let people know, like, hey, if you want to, you could be doing this. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want to, it can be done, and we have the blueprint for it. So
interesting. So, like, to get technical with it, do you guys have insurance, like, and that kind of stuff for like liability issues?
I do. I carry a $2 million policy through my business that travels with me when I'm demoing out, and the school compounds that when I'm at the school, they have their own. It's a long series of waivers. I will tell you, just full disclosure, that the school I started with is a private school. I've had a hard time getting into our local public schools, quite frankly, because of the insurance issues. Because my $2 million is not going to rebuild a middle school if something bad happens.
Right.
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's the realities of the situation. And the way it grew into a hands-on program was by me opening up my studio. We were only demo-based until 2013 when I opened High Desert Flameworks. We'd done some hands-on classes at a studio I used to work at, Gray Matter here in Albuquerque. We'd done some hands-on classes there, but we didn't really go like full-bore and implement actual like multiple meetings with multiple kids in a curriculum until 2 years ago. And a lot of that had to do, quite frankly, with the business side of it, because it wasn't that I was ever stopped and someone said, hey, you need to do this, but just realistically, man, I got to be responsible about this.
Yeah, man, and that's why I asked, because like, a lot of people have issues getting studios set up because even though the glass has been around for so long, it seems like the infrastructures of cities and municipalities don't understand, like you go to your city for permits for a glass studio and they're like, oh, glass blowing, and they think you're going to have furnaces and all this madness going on, when really you got a table and a torch and a fan. And I remember several years ago, I was helping a company get a glass studio set up, and they didn't. The city didn't require us to have hoods for the bench that we had the torches on, but they required us to have a hood for the kiln, which seemed completely ass backwards, But I understood.
So I'll tell you where that came from. I can actually tell you where that directly came from, man, because I've had that same issue. There's a guide. It's called the NFPA 58. It's the National Fire Prevention Act, Guidebook 58. It's like $80 a year. They update it every year, but that is the National Propane Handling Code, and we as flame workers somehow fall under that, because if our individual municipalities don't have their own set guidelines, they fall back to that. And we don't have to vent our torches, but we have to have a vent over my kiln? Are you kidding? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because they were treating us like a restaurant. You know, so like I told the guys I was opening the studio for, I'm like, you know, why don't we just go find an old pizza shop or some like a laundromat or something that already has ventilation or a kitchen in it, because they're going to treat us. I mean, you know, you get into fire suppression systems and it's like $5,000-$6,000 minimum to get one and just to get it installed.
Absolutely.
You know, it's crazy. So it's like, you know, the whole underground being a Gorilla glass blower in your bedroom or in your garage, you know, it's almost a necessity, because we're like, you know, we got the thumb being pushed down on us all the time because the permitting people don't understand what it is that we're trying to do. You know, and don't get me wrong, it's like, I understand, but if you do it properly and you can show them that, hey, my propane's outside, all my gas lines are run through copper lines, everything's sealed, you know, blah, 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 I'm not going to burn this building down, or I'm not going to burn the city down, you know, even so.
Exactly.
You know, you can prove to them, but they still don't want to hear it, you know, so it's kind of an interesting thing, and that's why I wanted to ask, because I was really curious, because I know, like, when I do demos, I have a liability insurance myself, just because, like, you know, if a piece of glass shoots out in front of me and burns a kid, like, I got to make sure, you know, somebody's safe. Now, if I burn a building down, it's a whole other story. But my demos, I was doing them out in the basketball courts under like a cover, you know, the shade-wise. So it made it a little bit easier for myself to be safe and have everything roped off and blah, blah, blah. But you still, you just, you know, shit happens. You just never know.
You know, and that's, you know, the shit happens is really, that's what you're always trying to prevent, you know, as a professional. And particularly compounding it with working with kids, man, like that's, I mean, safety is tantamount. You know, and I try not to ever be flippant about it, but it is the most important thing, because ultimately we've had an amazing safety record. Has a child ever touched a piece of glass in one of my classes? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, when those two kids did it, I was in the restroom and both their parents were right next to them. So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's one of those things that, like, no matter how you try to supervise or guide it, things are going to happen, but it's all about kind of, you know, just trying to limit the things that can go wrong.
Yeah, man. I know. That's funny. Yeah. Oh, go on, dude.
Go ahead.
Oh, let's see. Just go on. I don't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's just, you know, another part of it, though, man, is that, you know, it's also where I live, man. You know, flame working can be a regional thing, and that the things that I could not do what I'm doing in, like, New York City or Orlando or Miami, for that matter.
Right.
Only because, frankly, commercial real estate is very expensive. But you know, living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, man, we're still the Wild West, and that, you know, I have a 600 square foot studio. I have a full fire suppression system. And I assure you, but the rate that I pay is surprisingly low if it were like on national averages. And if anyone wants to message me about this, you know, privately, I don't want to talk numbers on, you know, on the podcast, but if you don't want the message, we can definitely go back and forth about that. But, it's a really affordable rate. The most expensive things I had to do was isolate my sprinkler system, because I'm next to like 7 other businesses. I'm right in the middle of like a joined building. So if my sprinklers go off, they want my sprinklers going off, but the way it was set before, if one goes off, they all go off.
Oh yeah.
So I had to spend some decent bucks to isolate mine out, but yeah, man, it's been really, really safe. You know, I have an upstairs neighbor. Like, I'm in a live-work community, so there's 2 stories of residential above my studio.
Wow.
So, you know, I'm really, really good. Yeah, like, so literally where my torch is, 16 feet up from that is a guy's couch in the living room. And, you know, his name is Zeke. We talk all the time. He's a great guy. He hangs out. But, yeah, like, that's, like, safety is something that it's so ingrained in me. It's not that I don't like to talk about it, but that everything I do has to be safe, man, because, like, if I don't, like, it's not just glass is going to crack, but, like, yeah, just bad things happen, man. So
yeah, absolutely. Because I had friends of mine locally, bro, that had a very similar setup, except it was in an own building. The studio was downstairs, upstairs was living quarters, and at first there was nobody living upstairs. So when they got everything passed, all their inspections, permitting, whatever got passed. But as soon as a resident moved upstairs, the fire department came in there and shut them down, like immediately.
Ah, man.
You know, within like a day of the lease being signed, kind of thing. So. Yeah, and we were kind of wondering, too, if maybe it was like the landlord has something to do with it. We're not really sure. But, you know, it's definitely that liability's there. So, you know. So kind of on the business side of things, because part of this podcast I really want to talk about, you know, I consider those of us that are artists but also are doing this in a serious fashion as being a business owner, or what I consider us to be like an artistic entrepreneur. On the business side of things, like, do you have an accountant that you deal with in terms of managing your finances? Do you do quarterly taxes, like, or do you manage all your stuff yourself? Like, how do you go about, you know, that side of things?
Okay, check it out. Man, and it's my brain is geared towards numbers, so I enjoy it, man. I've been doing my own taxes since I was like 16. You know what I mean? Like when I got my first job. So like I got QuickBooks, and hopefully maybe one day I'll be able to amass an empire that like I'll need an accountant. But for now, man, I really don't. Like I use QuickBooks, and that pretty much keeps me online and on track as far as what I need to be doing. I pay quarterly into my state, but a lot of that, man, because I'm primarily a wholesaler, I don't even pay that much in gross receipts. Like what I send out is taxed by my state, so it works out well.
Nice.
But philosophically, man, I pay taxes because I like fire departments and parks and hospitals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm the same way,
so
bro.
I try, and ultimately I try and do my part, like just mostly to be a good steward in my community, because I want to be seen as like, hey man, this is a responsible glass blower. this guy's running a responsible business. He pays his taxes on time. It's important to me. It's because by treating it like any other business, I'm able to just, like in a couple, my son's a freshman in high school, man. In a couple of years, I'm going to be trying to put my son through college on my glass income. So to think that it's not a business is incorrect, man. Like it's not going to work for me. So
yeah,
I realized that from very, very early on. And so, because a lot of my focus in glass blowing has always been like my son. It's always because, for a long time I was a single dad. And so everything, I blew glass because it kept me, kept ends meeting, food on the table. And also, I didn't miss a field trip for like 4 years, man. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's super cool.
It's a good lifestyle, and so because of that, I realized that as fanciful, as whimsical as it seems, I have to treat it as a business because it has to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's smart, man. That's why that's one of the main reasons. Also, besides your personality, I want to get you on here because I see what you do is very professional, and it always. I mean, I can't say it blows my mind because I'm not really shocked by it anymore. But like when I go drop off an order or send someone a customer an order, I've got 2 distributors I sell to as well, and they thank me for making sure that I've got them an invoice or I have a packing slip, everything's organized, I have an inventory sheet, and my logo is on those papers. Like they're like, oh my God, your logo's on here. I'm like, yeah, it should be. And so part of this podcast, like you can create the most amazing art in the world, but if you can't sell it, if you can't market yourself, if you can't be professional about being an artist and a business person, you're not going to be successful. And of course, success is different to everybody. I'm not thinking financial success. I'm thinking what you're thinking, dude. Like where I can get up out of bed when I want to get out of bed, which is pretty early in the morning, and I do my day. I dart around. I play with my dogs, my kids. I get my kids to school. I can pick my kids up from school if I want to.
Exactly, man. For me, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, but the biggest thing with myself personally, working at home, is the whole discipline. It's so easy to walk inside the house and get distracted by dishes or, my TV or something.
Yeah, I salute you because I can't do it, man. I've had a studio in my home, and all I did, I got really, really good at Tiger Woods golf on the PlayStation.
Dude, I can tear up some Tiger Woods, brother.
Super good. Like seriously. So I admire you, man, because before I opened up High Desert Flameworks, I was thinking about building a home studio just out of our garage, man, because we had some space, and it was just ultimately I realized that I just wasn't. I think that you're a very unique person and that you're very professional minded and you can still work out of your house. I think that's amazing.
Thanks, bro.
Salute you, sir. Salute you, sir. That's awesome. But the business side of it, man, is it's hard to mix in because as you alluded to before, success means something different to everyone. And for a long time, whether it be watching a lot of my friends excel in the pipe game or the bead game or the work I've done myself, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be, as it were. Like all I knew for sure is that I wanted to work with glass every single day, touching it, making it, selling it, breaking it, everything. And that was success for me for a lot of years. And then as life changes and things kind of came on, and met my wife, and just different things happen, man. That everyone kind of goes through. What I found that for me, success isn't financial success at all. It's really just balance. It's that balance of being able to both have the option of picking up your kid if you want to. Yeah. Or to put them on the bus because you're having a long torch session. These are the kinds of things, those are the kinds of decisions that I want to be making because I enjoy the fact that now, particularly because he's older, if I've told my son hey man, I'm gonna meet you at 2:30, let's do our thing. One, he knows how the glass life works, as it were. So he'll message me on the way out of school hey man, are we still meeting up? And usually I'll say I'm on my way, but sometimes I might say, nah man, why don't you take the bus to your grandmother's? I have to that, or this bubbler is not going to make itself, buddy. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's good, man. Because like with my daughter, she'll be 16 this year and going to be a junior next year in high school. So it's like, which is crazy. But I started right before she was born, so she's been through this whole thing with me, and it's the same. I totally get that, dude. Because like tonight, for instance, you know, she was asking me about her and I going to this play that her boyfriend's in. She's in a local high school magnet program for theater, and she's in the drama program. And her boyfriend is in the drama program also, but he's outside doing little theater type stuff. And I told her, I was like, I would love to go tonight, but I've got a podcast coming out Tuesday, Wednesday. I got orders coming in, you know, and she totally understands it. She didn't throw a fit.
Exactly.
She says, "Okay, Dad, I love you. Have fun."
You know, man, probably my best kid, like, relating to glass life story. My son was in 4th grade. It was a Rio Grande Nature Center. And, you know, I met up with the class, and, you know, we got our sack lunches, we're hanging out, and, you know, this other kid was walking through, and he and my son were probably about maybe 8 or 9 feet ahead of me, and he didn't realize I could hear him. And this kid was like, "Hey, man, like, why does your dad always come on all these trips, man? Like, you know, well, what does he do all day?" And my son stopped and looked at this kid and was like, "It's cool. My dad doesn't even have a real job." Now, dude, you know, and part of me might be taken aback because, of course, I work hard. But the fact is, if I'm able to work as hard as I do at the level that I'm at, and my son doesn't even realize I have a quote-unquote real job, that's balance. That's balance for me, man. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. Things are not perfect at all, man. Like, you know, as a businessman, I fall down on things. I'll admit probably my hardest thing for me, for whatever reason, is shipping. I'm great at making, promoting, taking payment on everything. But I'm probably about 5 minutes from my local post office. But by the time I get there and, you know, I'm walking in with like 8 or 9 packages each, it just something always seems to slip through the cracks. Or like I'll leave one in my car and then like, okay, I'll get to that one the next time I ship, and that won't be for a week, and that kind of thing. So you know what I did? I hired a guy, man, because that's a business. Like,
exactly.
I had to make a business decision about it. And thankfully, I'm in a place where, you know, it's a percentage thing, and he's willing to kind of do it, so it works out for me. But now I got a guy, and what he does is literally just wrap priority packages. And in turn, you know, I give him some studio hours. He makes some pendants for me, but I had to accept my own, like, kind of downfall, my own shortcomings as a person, and then find a way to kind of solve those, and that's business. That's the business side of things.
And honestly, bro, that is my biggest thing too. Like, I send my customers messages and I apologize it's like if I don't apologize for much, but I always apologize for an order taking 2 to 3 weeks to get to them, and it's been sitting in my studio for 2 to 3 freaking weeks, you know, and I got tired of it. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I know it's, you know, it's just, I'm just saying my post office, I mean, literally is like, I could walk there. And so what I started doing was I do the priority packaging myself, but I have the post office just, like, I know my mail lady, I put a little postcard, you know, in my mailbox, and I have my boxes on the front porch, and she comes by and grabs them all. You know, it saves so much time. But I'm at a point now where it's like, I've got so much coming in and going out, it's keeping that organized, and then making sure everything's packed. Because, like, only once, and thank God it's only been once, but I have sent packages to the wrong people. And I've asked them very nicely, and I've actually sent them stuff as a thank you to pack it back up and send it to the correct address for me. You know, don't send it back, just forward it to where it needs to go to. You know, so like I'm talking to the wife, I'm like, hey, can we get a system set up to where I can have my glass made in a bucket, I have my invoices up and everything, and then you can pack them for me? And she's like, yeah, sure. Now, she hasn't started doing it, but, you know, we're going to start hopefully here soon.
Well, look, and the thing is, mostly, man, it's about accepting that, though, as a person, because when you're on the torch, man, well, I don't know about you. I know myself. When I'm on the torch, I don't expect perfection, but I expect me to strive for it with every step. You know what I mean? Like, I want my work to be great when I'm working it. And so I hold myself that same standard when I'm not on the torch. And it just beats me up, man. Like, it was really beating me up. And so that's why I kind of had to plot a solution. And so accepting that and plotting the solution is what's going to keep the business sustainable. And so, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm sure the guy that's helping you out, man, I'm sure he's digging the reward at the end of the day when he can go in there and melt some glass.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. I'll be 40. I'll be 40 years old next year, man. I'm 38 right now. I'll be 40 next year. And Gil, my guy, is 21. And so to have him in the studio with me for the last 8 weeks has been just crazy, man. Like, it's just, you know, his young mindset, like, he's so Instagram based, and look at this, and why aren't we making these? Check this out, and you know, this guy. And I'm like, right, but we still got to pack these boxes though, man, and the glass still has to look nice. Like, I get it. No, you know what I'm saying? So, like, he is motivating me with his young spirit, and I'm over here trying to temper him like, yeah, no, but it is a business still, so let's figure this out. I'm not saying you can't. Hey, man, let's do 75 mil back stacks. All red? You want to do all red back stacks? All right, let's do it. But let's plot it out first. What are we going to do with all this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. But, you know, it's funny, man, because I had an assistant a couple years ago, and she was 21, and it was the same way. I kept telling her, I'm like, it's like I'm the old dog about to be put down, and here comes this young pup along that's like revived me and brought me back to, you know, the whole being young and free and enjoying life, you know, kind of idea again, and all this new stuff. But at the same time, it can be very distracting.
Yeah.
You know, so it's fun.
But you know, man, just to kind of try and tie the whole business thinking up in a ball of wax, man, I'll say that, like, you know, I don't get paid to promote any companies. Like, the Priority Service does not pay me money to say good things about them. But I will say that I know people who ship a lot more than I do who don't really lose taxes. You know what I mean? Like, typically the priority system has been pretty on point. Like, there's always going to be like glaring examples of where they've lost something, but you know, between like, it doesn't have to be QuickBooks, but it can be any free accounting program that you can find online. A cool mailman, and if your mailman isn't cool, give him a piece of glass and make him be cool. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you know, a cool mailman, and like Square, or I use the Go payment system from Intuit just because it ties into my QuickBooks.
Okay.
But like with those three things, man, like, things are so much easier to run a business. Like, you know, 20 years ago, you couldn't do that. Like, you literally need an accounting department, a shipping department, and accounts receivable just to do what we can do from our phones. So now that, like, the tools are there, it's just a matter of integrating them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I use, which I'm hoping to actually bring on as a sponsor, a company called FreshBooks, and they're an online accountant, cloud accounting, basically.
What's it called? FreshBooks?
FreshBooks, yeah, dude. It's
I'll
free.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out for sure. If you do go in there, put in it'll ask you like who'd you hear it from, because they're not my sponsor yet. You can't put me in there. Just put in you heard on the Dave Ramsey show, and if you put Dave Ramsey in there, you'll get the first month for free. But
awesome, man. Cool.
I pay $20. It gives me up to 20 active clients. And active, I mean like in your actual client list as being used, but you can delete the client and put them in the deleted file and then re-add them to your open file. But
cool.
It allows you to track your expenses. It allows you to track income, the whole 9 yards. Like, it's really, really nice. And I personally have an accountant, only because my wife does. And so we just, and she's, you know, she would just, you know, whatever. So she influenced me there. So
I'm Jason, I'm only laughing because my wife also has an accountant. It's her Uncle Bob. He's done the entire family taxes forever. And this year, now that we're married, when I came along and suggested I was doing my own, you know, there was a rift. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, wait, why would you do that? We have an accountant. So more than likely, I'll end up switching to that in the future. But yeah, man, I've always been just done it myself. So yeah, but just personal glimpses, man. I feel you. Yeah.
But I enjoy numbers, so I'm in the same boat. Like, I enjoy crunching numbers and building business plans and, you know, that kind of fun stuff. But dude, that FreshBooks accountant thing, bro, it's really it saves so much time, because like I said, I can just go on my iPad or my iPhone. I can open up the app. I click my client. I can, you know, like most of the stuff. I have like in there it says new client. So when I immediately get orders in, because I have ADHD that I deal with, and which you and I have talked about, and so I'll get these orders in, and because of Kik and Instagram messaging and Facebook messaging and text messaging and emails and smoke signals and handwritten letters and everything else that we get, I get lost and distracted in all these fucking orders that are coming in. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I feel like it's a blessing for all these orders coming in. But I lose them sometimes. And so with the FreshBooks, I just go in there, I click, as soon as the order comes in, I click new client, I go in there, I put the order in. It saves all your shit like in an inventory list, so you can like create, you know, POS numbers for all your stuff. And I print the paper out, I clip it up on my little system thing that I have, and I know that order is there. And I have it's like I have a lineup of what's coming up. And it has saved so much headache, because like you said, you know, I beat myself up a lot because I'm not a perfectionist, but I can sometimes say I'm a perfectionist. And, you know, I hate when I'm on the torch trying to focus on a piece of something, what I'm making, and I'm in the back of my head thinking about whose order did I forget or what am I forgetting to do. You know, it's like organization is key.
Well,
sure.
You know, man, and I'm really, really, part of why I was happy to be part of this process was, you know, like we've been talking about it for a minute, man, but just the business side of flame working right now. because, like, all right, so I've been doing this about 15 years, but I still respect the fact that if you're just starting out and you're listening to some of the things that, like, I or Jason just said, it sounds weird, like, God, you guys are stupid. You forget orders? All I want is orders in my life.
Right.
You guys are so arrogant that you would forget an order? Nah, it's not a matter, for me, it's not a matter of arrogance. It's the fact that, like, all right, there's an other folder in Facebook. I've been to seminars on Facebook. I know a lot about the algorithm. I just started checking this folder about a year ago. I missed money 5 years ago because they were in my other folder and they weren't friends of mine. I didn't know to look there.
Huh, I didn't even know about that.
Like, yeah, there's an other folder where people who are, like, basically, if they're not your friends on Facebook and they send you a message, like, if you guys don't have any friends in common, they just find you online and they want to order something from you, like, i.e. a regular customer, they'll send you a message, but it won't pop up in your regular messaging. It pops up in your other folder. So, hey, if you got some free time, man, go back to your other folder, and hopefully you didn't miss too much bread. But, yeah, that totally exists.
Interesting.
The Instagram direct messaging is a nightmare because I honestly, after, like, being on Instagram for a couple of years, just realized that they had it, and I was like, oh, man, I didn't realize that. So just with all these things that are coming in, even more than just distracting, man, they're just overwhelming because I could get a text message that says, hey, man, give me a call or shoot me an email at this address about this order. And then I got to remember, wait, was that a text message or what was the email address too? And just putting all those things together, it sounds like programs like FreshBooks, things like that can really help that out. So,
yeah, for sure. I wish somebody would develop an app where you could have every single type of messaging system onto, like, one screen that you can just keep track of all your shit on one page because it's like, man, I'd pay a subscription service for that, man, seriously. But only if it was just like a truncated service so that whether you Google message me or Facebook message me or poke me on Instagram or whatever else, or tweet me, whatever, it all just comes to my phone. That's on one app. So anybody out there listening to this that does any kind of app building, web design stuff, get busy, guys, because this shit drives me fucking crazy. Seriously. I'm
trying to make glass and sell it here, man. There's a lot of technology for that.
So one more, dude. So one more kind of question for you on the business side of things. Do you have any kind of retirement set up for yourself? Are you doing any kind of, personal 401k?
Man, all right. So I have an IRA that I am not contributed properly to. I did that because, back 15 years ago, I was a corporate guy. I was a travel agent. So I came into the game with a 401k, and I just kind of rolled that over to an IRA. And, there's a couple grand in there, like enough to kind of cover the house note for a couple months if we ever needed that kind of thing. But as of yet, no, man. And it's actually, this is one of the things that me and my wife, it's not an argument, but it was a harsh reality for her. She has a job where she has PTO or paid time off and 401k she contributes to, and like her retirement is set. Basically, if she stays working for this company for X amount of years and gives up this amount of percentage of her retirement, she gets Y value. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you retire on that kind of thing is the theory. No, I do not have that set up as yet. And
what kind of IRA do you have? Is it just a standard IRA?
Standard IRA.
Okay.
I looked at doing the Roth for some of the tax deferment stuff, but my head started swimming. So I was like, you know what? I need to get this out of this 401k and get into an IRA. So now it just sits there.
Right on.
I contribute to it typically when I'm having like a really good month. I'll remember like, oh man, I should definitely put some money aside for that.
Yeah, you know what you should do, bro. Because do you do like all your banking online?
Yeah.
Because you can set up to have like $50 a month just automatically sent there.
That's a good idea, man.
And I mean, you should, and seriously, dude, because like, and if you do that, make sure you set up your IRA as a Roth. You said you have a Roth. You have it set up as?
I have a standard, but I was looking at the Roth. I didn't understand the tax deferment stuff.
Yeah. So
I didn't have a chance to look at it.
Here's from what I understand the Roth works, and I've been listening to Dave Ramsey now for 3 years, something like that. So, anybody out there that wants to, he's biblically based. So if you're not into religion or, you're kind of turned off by it, he does talk about a lot about, it's religion type of stuff, but he's not a Bible beater. He's like, he's pretty cool guy in terms of his perspectives.
He's the live like no other, so later on I can live like no other, right?
Yeah, live like no one else, later you can live like no one else, kind of idea.
Exactly. No. Yeah, I'm familiar with that philosophy as a matter of fact, man. I like it.
He's amazing. So, I've learned so, like, part of this podcast and part of on the website, I'm going to have a list of business lingo, like things that you need to know, like what is a CPA, blah, 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 blah. Because when I first started listening to these shows, I would hear this terminology, and I'm like, I wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about. But
CPA is a certified public accountant, and an IRA is an individual retirement account.
There you go. Hell yeah.
PSA. but no, you know what, man? That's the kind of thing as the glass industry. Look, I spend a lot of time online going through like different. What color is that, and what torch should I get? And this, that, and the third. But yeah, man, no one's really talking about like after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say you find the perfect torch and you develop the business and you get it going. No one ever talks about that after. It's like the taboo subject. Like the business skills and pricing are like the two taboos in this industry. And for whatever reason, like I feel like by shining more light on those issues, I mean, everyone's gonna be more organized. We'll be happier. Everyone will be closer to that balance, man, and success. So
yeah, dude, and that honestly, besides teaching safety and health, that is why I'm doing this. Like my personal goal for myself is when I'm in my 60s, I want to have like $6 to $8 million in my retirement fund.
Nice.
I mean, and it'll happen, and it's gonna because of my hard work. But I will be honest with everybody listening to this. I am terrible with money. I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 15 years that I've been 16 years now blowing glass, and fortunately, because my wife is very good and organized, I have a house and a roof over my head.
Dude, I know what you're saying. I only laugh because I felt like I knew what you were about to say, and like I'm not trying to make this the why you should be a flame worker with a life podcast. I'm just saying, we're both relative newlyweds, so it's going to come out.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Here's the deal. Here's how my money worked before my wife. Okay. The very first year. Let's see. My son was in third grade. He was going to a private Catholic school, and here's how my pricing worked. I took his tuition plus the rent on our apartment plus our approximate food bill, which goes up so fast, and divided that by the days of the month, and figured out, and then doubled it so that I could pay bills and then still have money on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how I did that was the first semblance of like business pricing I had, was based on my son's tuition at the time.
Interesting.
And so like now, it progressed over 10 years to where like, okay, I'm doing okay. Like, my work is well received, thankfully. I'm having to travel a lot, but kind of the business is coming together. But I had no idea what I was doing with a lot of my funds, man. I'm the same boat where, I'm not great with numbers, or I'm great with numbers. I'm not great with money.
Yeah.
So, my Jiminy Cricket conscience wife is awesome now.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing, right? Because I could do. I mean, in all reality, like I know there was days where like I'd have because with my ex-wife and I, we have shared custody, and there were days where I'd have my kids and like maybe $5, and I'm like, how in the fuck am I going to feed my kids? And I'd start calling shops and calling friends. Hey, I got these pipes. I can sell these pipes. And but unfortunately though, it was the attitude that I had was, oh, I can just go sell some pipes. Instead of, I have this coming up next month. I need to save right now, even if I'm putting $5 a day away for that. But next week this is happening. I got to start preparing for that. So, but it's also a maturity thing.
15 years to have this. I'm in that same realization, man, where it took me the same 15 years to kind of come to that. And I tell Gil, who I referenced earlier, the young kid in my shop, I tell him straight up, don't be fooled because you met me at this stage in my business. Shit just got good like 3 years ago, bro. It was 12 years of like just figuring it out, and like things aren't even great yet. You know what I mean? Like like I said, I keep going back, so I'm finding more balance. But as far as like, if you've never filled up a gun case with pipes and had like a quarter tank of gas, and knew that you had to drive around to enough shops that if you didn't get enough sales, you might not make enough gas money to get back to your house. That's the kind of thing I came through, man.
Yeah, you might be a redneck, right?
Exactly. Or you might be a pipe maker in the early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's, saying, or more importantly, if you don't have that frame of reference, it's hard for me to sometimes talk to people about business. Like even like Gil, who's joining my studio. Like when I try and talk to him about business, it's from a whole different point of view because frankly, he's not going through that and he doesn't understand that. To him, everything is like, dude, why are you driving anywhere? Just post that shit on Instagram with this hashtag and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, you're not wrong. I'm just saying that's not the business I came up in. For 10 years, man, I either flew around the country with gun cases full of beads and pendants and home decor, or I drove around my city with the same gun cases filled with pipes and just tried to make it work, man. And like, that drive though, man, is that have to succeed mode when like, God, I got to feed my kids and put gas in the car. And I just ran out of propane, and I have to get more propane, or none of that's going to happen. Like, that kind of anxiety in the beginning is what drove me to be a better flame worker, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I became a better flame worker out of a sense of desperation, basically. Like, man, this has to work. Like, this is like, all my eggs were in this basket. I was a single dad. Like, it has to work. And thankfully, it was able to work out. And a lot of it just came from that sense of anxiety, though, man. I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? So
yeah, it's amazing. And I'd recommend anybody right now that's like a year or two into being a glass artist, if you have a job, keep the job. Like, and they call it a runway, where once you get down your runway, you can eventually take off, and then you can fly away and be a solo glass artist on your own. But if you have a consistent income that's coming in as a job, even if you're flipping burgers at frickin' McDonald's, who gives a shit? And it's going to allow you to really focus your energy and not be stressed out about, am I going to be able to pay my bills this year, because you got that paycheck coming in. And then eventually, once you get some money in the bank and you get consistent orders coming in, like I've always done the distributor thing, and it really made things consistent, but then it didn't at the same time, because seasons would come in and they wouldn't pick as much stuff up. And I would go get a job in the summertime, and as soon as I went and got a job in the summertime, I'd get an order for like $5,000, and I'm like, I got to quit this job because I got to make this fucking order. It was like, it was stupid. But like myself personally, my background is in high school and in my first couple of years of college, I worked at Subway for 7 years, and it was a real simple job. I was a high school stoner working at Subway with long hair and flirting with the girls that came in.
Nice.
But I took full advantage of the situation, and I learned how to do production. We'd prep up all of our and I'm gonna probably end up editing out that name of the brand of the sandwich shop, but we do our meats and cheeses in the morning, and then at noon, and bake all of our breads and stuff, and then at noon, from noon to 3 o'clock, we crank out 100 sandwiches an hour. I mean, literally. And I became the assistant manager because I proved myself, and then I eventually became a manager and I had my own shop. And I had the same crew for 5 years, and it was really cool to be with the same group of employees, and we kicked ass, and we were like the number 2 store in the county, and we were one of the highest grossing stores in the nation based on our locality and all the statistics that they use. But I learned a lot about business and that type of work through that job, and then took those skills and then went into my glass business.
Man, and also about grinding. Like, it sounds like, like I came up flipping burgers and stuff, man, and then waiting tables and things, and then got a travel agent gig. But man, like what that sounds like to me, though, is that, like, you were totally comfortable and geared. Like, this is the work that needs to get done. This is the time we're going to do it, and we're going to bang this out. And to a certain extent, to be able to take something as regimented as like Subway sandwiches and like having that schedule and learn that system, but then to be able to apply it to a glass studio, that goes back to those business skills again, man. You're totally right. Where it's just like, you have the ability to do the prep and do the production and get it out because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas a lot of times, if you haven't had that experience grinding and anything else, as you're blowing glass, man, you know how frustrating it is in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. It just feels like you're just wasting materials, wasting time. But if you're used to going through a process, then you can accept it as, all right, this is just part of the process. I need to get through it. So I get that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I always laugh when I talk to some newer glass artists, and they're like, I never pulled a point before. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you never pulled? I pulled like 1 million points in 16 years, and I got carpal tunnel because of it, because I pull points, because you have to. It's like, dude, you got to learn how to pull some points.
The guy I learned under, man, Brian is a real drill sergeant personality. God bless that man, because he is talented and gave me the fundamentals I needed to succeed. So God bless that man. But he was a real drill sergeant personality, man. And so, like, no point was ever straight enough. Like, it never even occurred to me to attach a piece of 9.5 to a piece of tubing until maybe a year after I worked with him, and like someone else mentioned doing it. I'm like, wait, why would you do that? Like, what? You're not pulling points. What's going on?
Yep, exactly. I was the same way, dude. And I was like, what the hell is that? Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and like, of course, I'm loyal to the process that I've been through. So, like, when I'm talking to Gil about things, I'm like, hey man, yes, you can totally attach collars. I get it. Like, he's seen YouTube videos are everywhere. He's watching Dustin Revere kill it on his how-tos on a regular basis. And, like, the fact is, like, attaching a collar is a real thing. What I try and teach him is, like, you know what, man, a lot of the delicate intricacies that I do with my perfume bottles, though, and the shaping I do with the hollow stems on my goblets and stuff, I got a lot of that from pulling points and, like, sitting there understanding how that thin glass is going to flow.
Yeah, man, that's exactly how I teach it. It's amazing how many little small techniques are involved in pulling a point.
Yep. I had the opportunity to have Roger Paramore down here a couple months ago, and we learned in his style, contemporary flame working, and yeah, he's not a point puller. And I'll tell you that that class changed my flame working habits more than anything else. But I totally still pull points. Like I'm never just, and even if it's just me stubbornly as an artisan, like, oh, I spent a decade and a half pulling points, my man. I'm not giving up that time. No.
Yep.
just stubborn pride. Like, but it's just the fact is now I have the ability to interchange. If I want to add a handle to something, I can. If I want to pull a point, I have that ability. But there's a lot of guys walking around that don't have that ability, and I think that it's not about just pulling the point and is that wasteful to the glass. It's just another step in understanding how the glass is going to move. And a ring seal or a Dewar seal to a tube is different than pulling a point and heating it all up evenly, waiting, hesitating, and learning that patience. Like, dude, if you've never pulled a point of 25-4 heavy wall on a Nortel minor, man, like we just have different backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I'm not being holier than thou. I'm just saying, like, in terms of patience, that's where I learned it.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the technology nowadays, it's awesome to see these younger kids getting on and they're getting a GTT or something set up for themselves and dealing with that type of heat base like right off the bat. It's like literally trial by fire in a sense with it. But I still think that in terms of the basic foundations of being a glass artist, you've got to learn those foundations. You got to learn how to ball up an even piece. Like when I teach glass, it's like make a blob. That's the first thing you do is make a blob of glass. I don't care how big it is, how ugly it is, just ball it up. But if you can't
gather it up, make it happen.
Yeah, dude. But if you can't make a perfectly round ball of glass, then you shouldn't go any further than until you get that down.
Yeah, that's I learned from that too, man. Just and that's something that fascinates me. And I don't judge the quote unquote newer kids, man. There's a lot, particularly on social media, like Facebook in particular. There's a lot of acrimony, I feel like, between like quote unquote the new school and the old school workers. And I don't look down on anyone, man, at all. I'm always trying to help people up. I don't look down on anyone. And so I see these pieces and I look at a lot of the questions and like, man, it's like trying to 360 dunk up the middle when you can't like dribble through your legs. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like seriously, like literally though. It's like trying to like perfectly cook a filet mignon, but like you can't make a good bacon cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's just there's certain skill building that has to come in, and it's not me being like shady as a 15-year-old glassblower. Like you must pull points and toil in the hot salt mines. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that by me doing that, I learned the fundamentals so that I can look at something and say, okay, I understand the concepts behind that, so that I'm not. It's like there's a lot of glass blowing to recipe right now. Like not how do I understand blowing out a form, but okay, how do I make this form in particular?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what's going on, and that's what I'm witnessing, and it's fascinating to me, man. It's great. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like I know a couple local guys here that like my brother, for instance, he's been melting glass for a little bit over 3.5, 4 years now. And I gave him his basic foundation, and we went through that foundation. But because of the foundation, he can now, he can do production if he wants. He can make, he's complimented on his hand spun tubes as if they're being made on a lathe because of the foundation he has. But he's got a couple buddies of his that have been blowing glass for like maybe a year and a half, and these kids are making clines and recyclers. I have never attempted to make a cline, and as long as I've been doing this, I would love to sit down and do it, but to see these kids that, the natural raw talent that comes out and the fact that they've found the glass to be their medium to express themselves, it's inspiring for me, but it's also, like you're saying, it's so fascinating. It's like, man, what the hell?
Like, yeah, look, I'll be honest, Jason, at first I was like, oh, this sucks. I was like, no. Like I was totally one of those, like, I was coming across as like a curmudgeon or like one of those like a crotchety old Jones, like stay off my lawn and pull points. Like, nah, man. Like, and I had to really look at that inside myself. Like, okay, what's going on inside my head that makes me feel like that? And at first, like, of course, I'm like, okay, is it the money? Because there's a lot of money in pipe making right now, particularly like higher end rig making. And since I'm not in that market right away, like I have to accept, like business wise, okay, is this a money thing in me? Is this a jealousy thing? Okay, no, it's not, because I have my own business, so that's fine. So once I kind of put those things to bed, I had to really like just get deeper into why I really even cared, I guess. You know what I mean? And I think just going back to the original foundation of our conversation, like working in the kids program, just the steps that I go through to teach these kids just to like you said, man, just make a gather safely, please. I want you to just make a clear marble.
Yep.
And I feel like there's a lot of kids who are frankly better at me than making rigs who might not be able to make a 2-inch clear marble. Now, this only matters if they want to make a 2-inch clear marble, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But like ultimately in terms of like glass and stuff, what I found was that it's because of how I look at glass, because I've never considered myself, like, except for the first week, just a pint maker or even just a bead maker or just a goblet maker. Like, you know, I call myself a cup maker now because that's the vein I'm in and the body of work I'm producing most is cup making, and so that's what I identify most with. But ultimately, man, I just want to be a flame worker. And by that, I mean like a well-rounded, established flame worker. And I don't mean established in terms of deep pockets or gallery representation or Instagram likes. I mean like within my own skill set and accepted by my peers, if I'm asked to sit down and make something, can I make it?
Yeah.
Amen. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be a one-trick pony, as it were. And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling anyone that. I'm not calling anyone out like that. Like there are one-trick ponies in the industry. What I'm saying is I don't want to be one. And so I fundamentally work on a well-rounded skill base.
Yeah.
And because that's how I look at it, that's where my acrimony was coming from. So I'm like, why don't you guys want to do it like I do it? Well, you know what, man? I don't have all the answers. So once I realized what it was, I was able to put that to bed, and now I'm just fascinated by it. I'm not even mad. I'm like, oh, this is just amazing. Like,
yeah, it's mind blowing, dude. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat, man. So, well, I want to kind of move on and get ourselves. We pretty much covered all the bases here, and get ourselves into our little bit of a lightning round here. I wasn't sure what to call it because the lightning round is being used a lot out there in the podcast world. So I will come up with a better name for it here eventually. But for now, we're going to call it the lightning round, and I might even throw a little lightning and thunder sound effect in there just for shits and giggles.
Dude, you got to be like, now we're going to strike the kiln.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, dude. So, if the question is basically if you can give me like a quick 30 to 60-second answer, and here we go, dude. So, all right, man. So, if you could work with any living glass artist that you haven't worked with before, who is it and why?
Oh, man. Right now, Bo Barrett. And here's why. Because I know Bo Barrett. We hang out. We drink beers. I know he's a family man. I know that on a certain level, man, we like the same music, same values, everything. We've sold together. We've hung out together at shows. But, like, I've never really got to do any work with them. And so for someone I haven't worked with, I'd probably say Bo.
Cool. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, what is it?
Numbing. I'll say numbing.
Cool. Good answer. Your top 5 favorite colors?
Oh, let's see. Amber Purple. Andromeda. Mystery Adventurine. North Star Light Yellow. And Indigo Luster, which technically doesn't exist anymore, so we'll go with Blue Moon.
Cool.
So yeah, man, I like real silvery colors. I really lean towards a lot of that, and a lot of my color palette is based on where I live. I'm most comfortable working in the colors that I see every day here in Albuquerque, and we have an amazing spectrum. But like that's why if you go through my body of work, you don't really see a lot of like really, really bright cadmiums. Like I don't do a lot of like bright cherry reds and true like acid yellows, things like that, because it's not the colors I see or what I'm familiar with seeing how they go together. I'm a bit more muted in that, like, like a amber purple with some gold fume or something like that is more my style.
Yeah, cool. Real, very earthy.
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. If you could give your beginning glass-blowing self any advice, what would it be?
Blow more glass. That's it.
There you
like
go.
that. All the secrets are there. All the answers are there. And I don't just mean like glass-wise. I mean like, part of my walk, man, and I'm pretty vocal about it, so I don't mind discussing it here, is, I'm a survivor of suicide. My son's mother took her life about 12 years ago, and that's something that was right in the middle of me starting blowing glass. And so there were honestly a lot of, like, long hours of me just sitting there on the torch, not just figuring out glass, but figuring out my life. And so I had to get comfortable, like, just standing in one place and dealing with my shit, man, because it would be really, really easy for me to run from a lot of things or just throw my hands up or say this isn't going to work out or whatever. But what that did was say, you know what? You need to blow more glass, not just so your glass gets better, so that you can become a more well-rounded person. And that may not be for everyone, but to speak to a younger me, blow more glass, man. Like, figure your shit out.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with us because I saw that in your notes and I was blown away.
Yeah, man. Well, I wanted to touch on it only because, and again, this is something I see prevalent via social media, man. For whatever reason, man, suicide touches a lot of us in the flame working community. Whether it be a fellow flame worker that passed, or they support someone who's been through that kind of thing, or just someone that identifies with that. And the thing about suicide is a lot of the problem with it is the stigma attached to it because it stays in the dark, because people are so uncomfortable talking about it. And, for me to be uncomfortable talking about it would be uncomfortable with my own life. And so, just to go from, I have a plan with a person and this is what we're doing, we're building a family, to all of a sudden in a very tragic way, that not being the plan, to come through that, Glass helped me, man. Glass saved my life. And, people who are really close to me know that about me. And now, I don't mind telling the world because that was my coping mechanism. I don't think that Glass can help every survivor of suicide cope, but it definitely helped me. It gave me the time I needed and forced me into a situation where, financially, I had to stand in one place and sort through my shit. And maybe it's not something as tragic as suicide. Maybe it's just dealing with bills, or we were talking about shipping and stuff before. Whatever you're going through, Glass as a full-time profession will give you time to work on it, because you can just sit there and just, I'm not saying that you need to go into autopilot and not pay attention to your Glass, but there's a certain distance where your mind travels and you just, you think about stuff, man. And so for me, it was either think about rap lyrics or deal with my shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I understand, because I know I guess 3 years ago now, my grandfather passed away, and his backstory, basically, he had Parkinson's for a little bit over 35 years, and so I saw the downfall and the struggles him and my grandmother went through, and when he passed, it was it was really hard for me to deal with that struggle. And I mean, there was days where I was on my torch and I couldn't hardly see because I had tears rolling down my face, but it was the same thing. It was it was just complete therapy, wipe my tears away and just keep going. And at those times, I wouldn't have any music on. I wouldn't have my TV on, and nothing. It was just the sound of my Glass, the sound of my noise what I was making, the birds out in the backyard, whatever, and just me and my soul and healing and dealing with whatever it was I was dealing with. So it's definitely, it's an amazing thing. And as much of a deterrent as Glass can be when things go wrong, when you mix personal issues like that in there, it can exasperate what you're dealing with in your Glass. But if you can get a little bit of control of it and focus, it's amazing what you can do for yourself and how you can grow and mature as a person and as a Glass artist also. Exactly that. So
that's, it's 3 words, blow more glass. I mean, it encompasses so much more than that, but that's the key. And because my struggle is not everyone's struggle, and what you went through with your grandfather and his passing and just with your own family, that's not going to be someone else's struggle. But ultimately, whatever their struggle is, blow more glass, man. Yeah. And more than likely, if you can't find a solution, you will more than likely find a way to cope.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I'm glad we talked about that, man. That's awesome. So,
sorry, man. That was longer.
No,
that was not quite lightning round. My bad.
Yeah, no, dude. It is all good, brother. Now we're gonna go back to it. So, what's your worst injury you've ever had?
Oh man, I was working at Gray Matter Studios. My buddy Jonathan Casto was working and had some friends in the studio, and one of them said something to me, and I was putting together it was a Chinese 32 millimeter heavy wall base vessel. It was about 9 inches tall, and the foot for it was about 5 inches. And I was doing a cold assembly, so I had it together. I was putting it together by hand, so I'm rocking it back and forth in my Lynx flame. And someone said something to me. I looked over as I was rolling my hand, and I dropped my entire left hand directly full bore into the hottest part of my Lynx flame. Now, the important things. I finished the piece only because my nerve endings were dead. I did not freak out or anything. It was one of those things though that I saw my hand in the flame and I had to grab my hand and pull it out. I was in so much shock that I could not move my left hand out.
Holy
my
shit.
Right hand pulled my left hand out. And I finished the piece, went to the restroom, talked to the guys real quick, and immediately left. And that was the worst injury that I've had. I was off for, I think I took 4.5 weeks off, off, and then another 4 weeks of just light work, doing beads and pendants, doing light dots, and I'm pulling 2 feet of 4 mil so I can do a dot with my left hand, so I don't have to have it anywhere near the torch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was it. It took me a while to recover. I will tell you, just funny flame working things real quick. I'm black. Well, I'm brown. And so if you burn your hand that bad, the melanin doesn't come back right away.
Mm-hmm.
So like the entire back of my hand was a completely different color for like 2 months. It was crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'm a white guy, but I'm pretty tan being in Florida, and my major burns are all pretty dark.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I've hit my hand on my flame twice in 16 years. Yeah, and both times it was the 2 a.m. I should be in bed instead of in the studio. So when I'm tired, I don't work anymore because the first time literally burnt a hole into my knuckle on my left pointer finger. And yeah, dude. And this is, back when I did this was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months into blown glass. So I had never experienced a burn like that before. And I went to Walgreens pharmacy and like, hey, what should I do for this? And she's like, go to the ER.
What are you doing? What are you doing here? You need to go to the ER immediately.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not going to the ER. I'm going to take care of this myself. So I'm glad we're talking about this because part of this podcast is I'm going to bring with a dermatologist to talk about issues with skin and really find the best way to deal with burns because like glass terminology, there's 45,000 different ways to deal with a burn. I've found personally myself that once the wound is cold, because when you do burn yourself, the core of your burn is still hot, and once that cools off, lavender I've found is the best thing to use, but it has to be cool because I put lavender on my hand after burning it immediately, and because it was still hot, the lavender actually made like a grease burn on my hand because of the internal heat still. So I found
I actually use lavender if it hasn't broken skin. I'll use lavender.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad burn, as long as the blister hasn't popped, if it hasn't broken skin, I'll use lavender. And I'll email you a source, man. You might want to look into it too. I was reading something that lavender into an open wound can cause it not to heal as fast. I'm not going to drop speculation on your podcast.
No, I agree. Dude.
I also agree with that.
No, I agree because I had a ex-girlfriend of mine who made a burn salve, and it was awesome stuff. But I burnt my forearm really bad at Disney working on stage one day, and I used her stuff, and it was an open wound, and it took forever for it to heal, and it's actually scarred worse than I would have ever had a burn scar. And I think it was because, like you're saying, maybe because of the lavender that was in there. Because normally the stuff that when she made it, I would use it on like basic little small things, and the pain would go away right away. And in like 3 days, it was like you wouldn't even know I burnt myself. But the open wound one, it's interesting. What I do find though is I think it's Johnson & Johnson has a bandage that they've created that's skin thin, and it's got a pad in the center that actually absorbs fluids that you release in terms of creating a blister.
That'd be great.
And you can actually leave them on, and they're waterproof. So, you can leave it on for 2 weeks, and like the edges will peel up a little bit, but you can just trim the edges or just take it off. And it's kind of gross, but when I burnt my knuckle, and I took full advantage of this, and I experimented with different things, and kept a little journal trying to figure things out. But when I removed that bandage, it literally created a bubble that filled the hole in my hand. And when I removed the bandage, that's when I realized I had this hole into my tendons of my hand, kind of thing. So I immediately put a new bandage on, and it's amazing, dude, how fast the body heals. Even though I was, it took about 3 months till it didn't hurt, So
we are amazing creatures. We are amazing creatures.
Yeah, it's amazing. So the last question of our lightning round, dude, and this is a fun one for you. Let's see what you got here. If you were on an island stranded that had a glass studio and only supplied your gases and kiln, what 5 items would you bring?
All right, I got you. I'm already ready. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. I'm going to need a pallet of 19 mil by 4 mil tubing, heavy wall 19 mil.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, cool. I need my Herbert Arnold goblet claws, but I bought them as a set, man, so I think that's only one item. I think there's 2 of them, but it's a set, so that's only one item.
Hey, that counts as one, yeah.
So that's 2. Okay, cool. Sweet. I'm gonna bring. Let's bring another pallet of 12 mil, and we need about 100 pounds of amber purple. And I'm on a deserted island.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm bringing a bowl push, man. Let's do it. I'm bringing a bowl push.
Hell yeah.
Come on. It's like this. I figure if there's an island, I won't need reamers because I can make them out of wood. Even if I make a new reamer every piece, I'm fine. But you got to have a solid ball pusher. So.
Hell yeah! And then we'll use like the turtles and dolphins for our mail systems.
Look, I will get a stick and tie it to a rock and make a paddle. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I got it.
That's awesome, dude.
I got it, man.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when I was trying to figure these questions out. I sat down with Britt and we're trying to like go over some stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do the whole if you're stranded on an island thing, but it'd be kind of fun to come up with a different version of it, as a glass artist.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, just because different people are going to bring different things. Like, you talk to like Marcel or like Jason Gordon, and you'd be like, I'm going to need my furnace. So I'm going to need my furnace, and I need 50 tons of color.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So like, it all depends on what you're into, man. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I pick 19 mil Hezbollah because I can do wine glasses out of those. It's super annoying. It's super annoying to have to back it down, but it's easier for me to start small and blow up than to take 60 mil and try and make a wine out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'll stick with the 19. So
makes total sense.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
Cool.
So it's kind of finalize this whole thing up. Just one more thing. I guess it's actually a two-part question, but it's more of an advice type thing. So
yes.
What's your vision of the industry in the next 5 to 10 years? And any short parting piece of advice you could give a newbie?
All right. In the next 5 to 10 years, here's what I say. Because of the current state of the medical marijuana movement in our nation, I see the pipe-making movement continuing on forward. A lot of people are attracted to beads and pendants. A lot of people are attracted to wine glasses, but I don't get asked to do anything more than pipes, man. I don't. And unfortunately, I don't have enough time to do them, but even like on an instructor level, that's what people want to be learning. And so I expect to see that as really, really prevalent and continue on. Because of that, I expect to see the color palette being continued to push, but like, I just don't know where else it can go, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree.
I expect the color palette to expand, but like, I can't elaborate on that because I have no idea what's going to come next.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just, like I feel like everything I'm seeing now makes sense to me. So they're about to do some really crazy stuff, man. Like, they're going to combine like can I get like an Illuminati disco sparkle? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll figure out something. But most importantly, man, I expect it to be a lot more accepted. Look, we're all different flame workers. Me and you are different. We're different from other guys, other girls, everything, man. And, whether you're like a dread with a longboard and your dog, or you're me and a kids program and a teenager, whatever it is, man, we're becoming more accepted, like within society. Like, it makes more sense to people. And so I expect to see more of that, man. I remember when Home and Garden TV, HGTV, put Shannon Hill on there making a frog like maybe 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And at that time, everyone was on the melting pot forum. That shit lit up. Like, if everyone was on Facebook like that, then it would have got 1 million likes. Like, oh my God, he made a borosilicate frog on cable TV? Like, that was like the borosilicate answer back to the PBS, like, Dale Chihuly specials. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, like, I expect to see more of that. And a lot of it's going to come from just independent people like you putting out this podcast. We talked about Mike Mason and the guys doing Torch Talk. But a lot of it really came from Swingers movement, and that movie really just, not just that he did it, not just he involved who he involved or what it means to us as flame workers, but the fact that I have people who like literally identify more with my craft because they watch that on Netflix.
Huh,
like,
interesting.
I'll just be talking to people. I've known since high school, man. Like, guys will call me like, dude, have you ever seen this thing like Degenerate Arts, man? It was on Netflix in the documentary section. It looks like something you're into. And I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I'm really excited because of him, yourself, and people who are willing to kind of push that, literally push it into the forefront. It makes it more palatable because it went from that was pushing his movie at the beginning was pushing boundaries, whereas now the things that are spawning off that, it's not that they seem commonplace, it's that they seem necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, now that has come out, you know what, man? Let's talk about the whole ball of wax, man. Let's talk about the free books, and let's talk about insurance and things like that. Let's put studios together. Let's, because there's been people who've come before us who've already blueprinted all this.
Yep, exactly.
And so it's just a matter of us trying to follow that blueprint and keep expanding it, just like any other industry. I think, let me sum it up. In the next 10 years, I expect glass to become more of an actual industry and profession. And that's not to take away from the artisan whimsy of it, the avant-garde bohemian side of it. it's being taken more seriously. There's more money involved. That breeds more seriousness, and so it makes things like this podcast more necessary. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Hell yeah, brother! I appreciate that. Yeah, that's too cool, dude. So, yeah, man. Well, honestly, dude, I'm like I said, I'm just thrilled to have you on here and getting to know you, and I look forward to getting my ass out to Albuquerque. Maybe me and Bugs Bunny will take a right instead of a left this time, and we'll find your ass out there and muscle glass.
Man. And if not, man, I'll come find you in Florida. And, hey, before we get out of here, man, just so you know, like once this gets rolling, I want to come back and interview you, same questions, because you've got good questions, man. I want to come back and do yours.
Cool, hell yeah. Yeah, dude, I'm all about it.
Let me know.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking about, like, doing episode 1 on me. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm, so. Hey, man.
Let me know. Let me know. But, man, look, this has been fun, and mostly, like, like I said, this shows the power of not just glass, but, like, the glass world as it is. Because, we bumped into each other online. We liked each other's vibe. We had a similar walk and like take on business and things, and so we gravitated towards each other and we stayed in touch, and then that parlays into like us getting together, and now you doing a podcast, things like that. And so like the relationships that you meet online aren't manufactured, like those are real. Like friends isn't always in quotation marks, man. Like I consider you a friend, and a patriot in the glass war, man. So thanks for having me, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. That's awesome. You're making me blush. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man, we forgot one. Oh, newbies, blow more glass.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The aforementioned blow more glass statement. That's it. Like that's the big key to success, man. I don't know a single flame worker who is like successful flame worker who's lazy, man. Like I don't.
Yep.
Like I really don't. Even like if you're like, oh, we only mix like 8 pipe a month and he's balling. Did you see that one pipe? You know the prep that went into it? That was a fucking grind. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. So, well, it's kind of a little get sidetracked. I know this ending is going to take forever, but when I did the classes, and I told the kids, I've been doing this for so long and I burn myself and it takes lots of practice. I always go back to professional skateboarders, and we don't see them falling and busting their shoulders and breaking hands and knees and skinning themselves up. All we see is Tony Hawk landing a 900.
Exactly.
But cats like Tony Hawk, Oh, go on.
Do you know how many like 827s he failed before he got that $900?
Yeah, exactly.
How many times he fell?
Yeah, I know. It's cool, man. But like Yushin's got a video out there of him trying to land a trick, and I think it's actually on Degenerate Art. And I personally, when I see glass artists like Yushin skating, I become a mom. I'm like, dude, you need to wear padding and protect your hands, or get insurance or something. It makes me so nervous.
Andrew Brown, Carver B here in town, man, had the skateboard ramp in his front yard. So every time I come to his house to hang out, I'm just like, man, don't break your wrist, please. That'd be a shame for the industry. Slow down. Hey, hold on. Let's just go blow some glass.
Yeah. Yep.
But you know what, man? Without them out there doing tricks and pushing boundaries, man, who knows what their glass would look like? So I'm not knocking the hustle, fellas. Keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it up.
And wear helmets and pads.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome, brother. Oh, shit.
Cool, man.
Well, thanks again, dude.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been
an
awesome opportunity. And I'll be in touch with you, too, about I'm going to probably need a little bit more details of info for the show notes page, some links and what have you. But
right on, man.
Yeah, dude. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy that heat out in the desert.
Hey, man, you try and stay inside, man. It's real humid down there, bro. Like, you guys got spiders and shit. It's crazy out there.
Man, it's humid in my house and the air conditioning.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's not even allowed here. So I would write my city council if that happened.
Well, I'm like 6 blocks from the beach, so it's okay. So.
Okay, so you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Well, shit, I'm going to go blow more glass, man, but have a great day.
You too, homeboy. It was good talking to you, bro.
All right, peace, man.
Yeah, man. Take it easy. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.